everyone, this is Tracy with Rhapsody Art Barn. I snuck back in here. I couldn't wait to see my patinaed piece and see what happened over the last 24 hours and how green it got. So I did do a little bit more than just the patina. I'll tip it down so you guys can see. So here is the final effect. It's super green and cool. So yesterday when I left off, I was dabbing the patina on, and it ended up getting lines from the brush and not as speckly as I wanted. So immediately I saw it turning into these streaks, and right after I got off the camera last time, I took a little bit more of the copper and then a lot of the spray, and I sprayed it, and if it puddled up, I just took a paper towel and kind of got most of the puddling off. The only thing is when you do too much product like that on the surface, I added the copper, and you can see the brass even turned a different patina also. When you do add too much of the copper, it kind of raised up here and didn't set up as bright as some of the other. I like the white green, that's my favorite, and this was kind of a yellowy, and it did have like a sheen to it. It was thicker. So I just took a sanding brush here, and I literally just sanded it down a little bit so that it wasn't so shiny. And although it's not going to be that light green color as the other places, it's variated enough that it doesn't matter on this piece. But if you were going to do a piece where you wanted it all to be super bright white, then you would want to spray the piece instead of use the brush like I did. So live and learn. That's what I learned on that. You can still see in the corner it's a little bit more green yellow here. That's where I also added some so that I could sand down a little bit and it'll turn a little bit whiter. I then went around the side like I initially said that I was gonna do. And I did it at first with the wax. And it was a really cool, I call it fly eyes. It's, I used the green patina and the turquoise that I showed you in the beginning. But because this piece is so old, you can see it's dimpled. And I didn't like the wax. It didn't give enough of a crisp edge. So I did end up using the mermaid paint. It's so close to that color anyway. I just opened it up. You can see I barely even used any. I took it off the top that was open, and then I still have a whole bunch left. And that went around the whole piece 2 times. I still have some left on the cover there, with a little teeny artist brush. And this is a copper patina in the center. It's our hammered copper gilding wax, and it kind of shows up a goldy copper on the piece. And because the lines were not crisp enough, even with the paint, to make it look smooth, I just went ahead and took that copper and I added it almost as if I was distressing it with a sanding block. Instead of distressing though, I was adding. And I used a kind of bristly brush, and I just dipped it right into the gilding wax, and I brushed it over the lines so that I wasn't even trying to stay in this line. I had already done this line earlier, and then I just went back over the stuff that I painted, and and you can rub it back with a baby wipe. You can use a cloth to get some of it off, and if it's way too much, you can use just the baby wipes with alcohol. And that way I got kind of a distressed finish, so it takes away from looking like it's supposed to be perfect, because this piece is not perfect. This piece is, I don't know, it's probably from the 20s, because it's that Art Deco, and it's definitely beat up like it was from the 20s. Now, all of this paint chalk, that's from me working it, and I can add a little bit more dark if there's places that it got too light, but usually you can just brush off the chalk finish. I have a great blower that I use, an Air Force blower. It's actually a blower that you would use for a, it actually dries pets, like dogs, and it just blows everything out and it doesn't get hot. So if I'm gonna heat up a piece to maybe do some would you bend or to dry the piece, then I would use the heat gun. But this thing blows everything really, really hard, and it blows all of the dust out of the pieces and works perfectly for that. And it doesn't get hot like a heat gun. So that's called an Air Force blower. If you want to look them up, they're very handy. They're not inexpensive, but you can use them on anything. So that is this piece. I am going to finish it off with something shinier than the chalk paint finish. But I think it turned out pretty cool. I like the dark and the green together. So I'll put a picture on my Facebook page of how it looks when it's all finished with the clear coat. So thanks for tuning in. Next I'm gonna do some playing around with some would you bend. So I just painted this little board with some French linen, and I'm gonna attach some would you bend. I think I'm gonna do some raised stencil that I have with the Prima stencil and the Prima thick. It's kind of it's called fiber paste. It's a stencil paste. So if you want to check that out, I'm going to start working on that soon. See you soon.